Before we get started, I would really love to know more about you and to have you introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay. Well, I'm Marietta. I'm an illustrator and 3D artist from Argentina. I have a background in fashion and textile design, and after working for years in that world, in that industry, I transitioned into illustration, and now I create playful characters, digital objects, and motifs. And lately, I've been exploring physical products through 3D printing. This is very new, but I'm working on that too. So that's who I am, shortly.
So we were going to ask if you have always been an illustrator, but you did mention that you did fashion and textiles. So what did you do? Did you study that, or how did you go from that to doing illustration?
Yes, well, I grew up in Patagonia, in the south of my country, and was always a very curious kid. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, and I was fascinated by shapes, textures, and how things are made. And that curiosity eventually took me to Buenos Aires, where I currently live and where I studied fashion and textile design. And I spent like 6 or 7 years working in the fashion industry. My first job was as a team leader and designer in a shoe factory. And at that time, what I enjoyed most was drawing, so I eventually shift into freelance textile design, mostly creating prints and patterns for fabrics. And back then, I worked as a very versatile or adaptable illustrator, and I shaped my style based on each client's needs. Well, from those years, I learned a lot about project and client management, something I had never learned formally because, well, I have never went to business school.
Yes, haven't we
Yeah,
all learning by doing?
exactly. And after working for a long time, adapting to different client styles, I started to feeling the need to explore my own voice, and I began experimenting. And little by little, my current style started to take form. So, well, that's how I turned into my current position or work.
Yeah, there's something we noticed about your portfolio is that you have a very specific niche, or at least that's what you present to the outside world, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to invite you onto the podcast, because it feels like you have understood a lot of the things that we kind of talk about a lot, like niching down, positioning. So is it something that you thought of actively, or did it just kind of happen?
No, I think that that happened. Uh, my one of my first relevant works was for Valentino, which was something crazy for me because as a fashion designer, I never expected to work with them, with a brand like them. And then I finally worked with them as an illustrator. And I think something about my past and my experience reflects on my style. So these fashion clients are, I don't know, like connected with my style or the things that I do. It's not something planned for me to reach that niche, but it's something that happened. But I also try to search other other type of clients, because I am always open to explore different things, and I don't like to always make the same things for the same clients or needs.
Yeah.
We can relate to that feeling.
Yeah, I can relate to that. But even though you say you've done, I guess, a lot of fashion related things, or maybe you get a lot of clients like that, I wouldn't from someone who just saw your portfolio, I wouldn't even say that that was what was the first thing that stood out to me. It's more the style that you do is just very you know, like you have a very distinct style, which is very cool. I think that a lot of people struggle to find that. And I think that's what makes your work special and makes it probably successful as well, because I think people see that and they're like, oh, I want something like that. And you're the only one that can provide that, you know?
I'm sure I have that feeling when I look for your
Yeah.
work.
Something that I made was, of course, work on that, because since I mentioned I work several years adapting to my clients' needs, and well, at that point I wanted to make something personal, and when I started to trying to find my style, I found that repetition was like a key to my progress, you know, like doing the same thing over and over again until I understand what I'm doing. And when I discover something, or when I found something like I feel very me, I try to keep growing that. That's how I make my style. But I also think my style is constantly evolving. It grows as I grow, and it grows as my interest grows. So I feel like a very natural process for me making this. So far, it was very difficult at the time, because I also watched other people at that time when I hadn't a personal style, and my feeling was, how do these people make this? I know it sounds simple, but I also know how hard it can be to keep making things, to in order to get to the results you are searching for. It's a constant work creating a personal style.
Yeah, I think it's also a very personal thing, creativity. So it makes sense that you feel like it evolves with you, and when you evolve, your style will evolve.
Definitely.
Then I want to kind of latch on to that because you mentioned it was difficult finding your own style. So when you saw others doing something and you were like, wow, how did they do that? How did you start? How did you start finding your own style? Because you mentioned repeating it, but what were your inspirational sources? Or
yes, well, firstly, looking for other people works, you know. And I remember that I made like a table. I'm not sure a table is the proper word, but a comparative table with different people I admired at that point. I started to analyzing them, like how do they do what they do, or I don't know, trying to find or to discover the things that I identify as something that was possible for me to repeat, or to repeat. For me, that was very interesting, not comparing myself with others, but keeping an eye on their process, or trying to figuring out how other people work.
That's something we do as well with websites. I mean, obviously we don't copy other people's websites, but we do look at what other people are doing, and we do imitate some of the things. I think that's a good thing to do. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's copying, but it's not. It's more like looking up to people who are doing it well, and then thinking, okay, how can I apply that to my work?
Definitely. And sometimes it's not just copy the style, but just understanding the way to get that style. And something that I noticed at that time was that all the people that I admired was very consistent with their work. That was something that I wasn't doing, because I adapted my style to my clients and have like many possibilities. And then I started to reduce the things that I made at that time, and started to focusing on specific things, like, okay, I'm going to start working on faces for my characters, or on which shapes I'm going to use, and I don't know, color schemes, and trying to not to try to use as many as techniques as possible, but keeping my practice focused on something very specific and repeated them until understanding what I was doing. And that is something that I continue to doing. When I find something that sparks my interest in it, I repeat it and explore it from different angles. And that's how I start to really understand what I'm doing. And that process was very helpful and to evolve. And I try to apply it not just in my creative work, but also in other parts of life, like, cooking or even running. Repetition has been essential to my progress.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And you said that you used to adapt your work to the client, and then you switched it up and decided to do what you wanted to do and what your style represents. Did you notice a change in your business when you did that? Did you change your prices? Did you notice that people had more interest in your work? Was there anything that changed in that sense when you started doing that?
I definitely changed my clients because I forgot about fashion and starting to focus just on illustration for products, or when I started as an illustrator. But yeah, definitely it changed because my clients changed. But I'm always open to adapt to the clients and to the project. So my pricing, right now I charge a day rate that I think is competitive, but I'm always open to discussing budgets depending on the client and the projects. I like to stay flexible, and I have always have the same approach to projects regarding pricing. I try to adapt.
So your pricing didn't really change when your clients changed?
Yeah, well, my pricing started to change when I started to work for clients from other countries, because when I worked in the fashion industry, it was for local clients. And, I live in a country where creativity is not as valued in other places. So when I open my range to other clients from different parts of the world, it changed, of course.
Yeah, we experienced the same thing, funnily enough, because Austria is also not very, they don't value design very much. So when we opened up our business to international clients, we also realized you can charge different prices than you can charge here locally.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the thing, that the change was there when I changed to international clients instead of local. And of course, every time, I think that as my style evolves, I feel more confident to charge what I want to charge, or what I think it's what my work worth.
You said that you struggled with naming a price, right? Initially? Or did you struggle ever in your career to figure out how much something is worth? Like, what do I charge for an illustration, for example?
No. When I started freelancing, I had to figure out everything from scratch. How to pricing, how to communicate with clients, how to manage their expectations, and be clear, of course, about timelines and pricing. So I learned that when I started freelancing, and all of those skills are still very present in how I work today. So right now it's not a problem. I know how to do it because I had to learn to. I learned how important it is to set boundaries, have a structure, and be transparent about my process. So yeah, that is something that right now it's not a problem for me. It's not something that I know how to charge my work. But I also like to stay flexible, try to adapt based on the scope and the needs, and also not every client is the same. Yeah, right now it's not a problem how to charge my clients.
But when you first started, did you have, I mean, you must have had at the beginning those questions like, how do I price my work, and where did you get that knowledge from? Because obviously we learned by doing as well. But we did also, go look at resources online or ask people in our network. Like, did you have people in your network to help you, or did you
Yes.
have a place to look for those answers to those questions?
Yeah, definitely. I have people around me that had at that time experience working as freelance. So as a freelancer, so I think I was lucky enough to have those people near me, and was very important to have that information, because I also have had some bad experiences with clients because of not being clear or not about my pricing, or not being able to protect myself from some clients that there are good clients, but there are also people that not respect our work as creatives. So yeah, I had to learn how to manage them.
Yeah, I think everyone's been through their bad client phase.
Yeah.
So then you kind of have to go through that to learn to then not work with those people, or at least know how to set your boundaries so it doesn't end up being that experience.
Yeah. And sadly, that is something that at least at my university is not something that is on the study plan. You don't. I went to design university, and those things are not included. You don't know how to learn with clients at the university. I think we all should learn that as we learn, because it's essential. It's essential for our work, how to manage them.
Yeah, we were just like nodding at each other.
I think that the issue is in a lot of these universities is that they teach you to then work for an agency or work for a company as a designer or whatever you are doing creatively. And they don't teach you enough about what do you do if you do want to be self-employed. And I was just thinking, like, we did have one class in our university where we learned about pricing. It was very like short. Like, they didn't go into a lot of detail on it. At least we had that, but we never had anything on how to work with clients.
No, I think
like when you said that just now, I was like, wait a second, I really didn't learn any of that, and that would have been so essential.
Yeah, arguably that's more difficult than doing the creative work itself.
Yeah, even more difficult
Definitely.
than the pricing for me is talking to clients, setting boundaries. Like,
Yeah.
that's way harder.
Definitely.
And on that topic, I have a question. Because you said you transitioned from fashion to other clients, was there a reason why you wanted to branch out to other clients?
Yes, because I think that I studied fashion and textile design. As at that time, studying arts was not a chance for me, because I thought that I needed to study something more formal. So I studied that, but I really enjoyed drawing and making things. And I think that I started working as a textile or a fashion designer because I studied that. But then I started to feel like I needed something more. I started to feel like it was not me. I was just like a robot making all my clients lead. And after a couple of years, I started to feel like I needed something more. So that's why I decided to change. And right now it feels super nice to work with clients that come to me looking for my style. That's a dream come true because it feels very special to add. I work a lot to get those projects. But yeah, I think that the base was that I was tired of working. It was like an impersonal work.
Yeah. I can imagine it must be very rewarding to have people come to you because they want to work with you and have your style. Was there ever a point where you felt like you didn't want to be self-employed? Because you have done both. So you did transition from employment to freelancing, you said at the beginning, right? So was there, first of all, why did you decide to become self-employed? And second of all, is there ever a time when you're like, oh, it would be nice to have a boss and like I don't have to worry about all the
Yes.
big picture existential stuff?
Well, I decided to start working as a self-employed because I like to make things by my own. I'm those kind of people that really enjoy managing their times, their projects, and I found they're a very comfortable place for me. One of the hardest parts of working independently, at least for me, is maintaining consistency, especially with workload. There are months when I'm working on 2 or 3 projects at once, and then suddenly nothing for a while. So to be honest, sometimes I just wish I had a full-time job with a steady income. And I'm open to exploring that too, of course. Why not? I really like to work with people. I usually work with directly with clients, but I also love and enjoy being part of a team. So far, it's not happening. I sent some emails trying to. I'm open to a full-time job, of course.
I think we can relate to that as well. Yeah, there's like two sides to it. On the one hand, it's nice with the freedom and all that, and on the other hand, it is a lot of mental load to have to worry about the finances and the next projects, and do you have enough work and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm not working on commissions, I use that time to explore personal projects, learn something new, or reach out to potential collaborators. But sometimes it's hard to be without a project,
So can you reveal any of the personal projects you might be working on right now? Or do you have any examples of the kind of things that you do in your downtime?
Yeah, I'm really excited because last month was my birthday and I got a 3D printer. And I'm really excited because it opens up a whole new dimension for my work. I've been working fully digital for a while, and now I feel like it's time to start making physical objects, especially because every time I create something, the feedback is so positive. So right now I'm still testing and learning, but the goal is to start making physical products.
That's so cool. So what kind of things have you already made?
Well, so far it's just test. I've been trying on some basic decorative pieces like vases or pots, and also made a lot of miniatures of things that I already have modeled, like little shoes or little food that came from my previous 3D pieces, and I love it. So far I'm still testing and learning, but the goal is making products. I'm not sure which product so far, but it's totally a new adventure for me. Not just creatively, but also in terms of understanding things like logistics, pricing, physical goods, talking to suppliers, and maybe even thinking about markets or shops. So, I've been using it for 20 days so far. So I have a whole new world to explore with this.
That's so cool. I love that your brain works at, okay, let's explore some personal projects and then, okay, how can I sell it?
Yeah, definitely. And I also work on digital pieces when I don't personal digital pieces, and sometimes clients come to me and shows me as references projects that are personal projects. So yeah, I think it's very important to keep making things when you are not working on commissions or on commercial projects, because keeping your style active, it's very important to also to have things to show on social media, on your portfolio.
So are you sharing your journey with the 3D modeling online with your audience?
Yes.
Is that something that people can follow you with, like along with?
Yeah, the other day I made a post with some pictures of these 20 days. I'm trying to figuring out how to show all of these because I'm not a content creator, and I know that it's very important to do that. So I'm trying to how to show this new journey.
Yeah, everyone has to be a content creator these days.
It's so difficult to me because I really enjoy my time when I'm making things that I like, and I don't like to show my face, and I don't like to analyze which trending format should I use for my videos, or I don't know. I know it's very important and it's a key right now, but I'm working on that too. Also, I'm looking to other content to content creators to analyze them and trying to understand how they work, which things I feel more approachable to me. There are many ways to show our work. I would like to keep my style consistent in every aspect of my work, and one of the aspects is how I show myself. So I don't want to make like viral using viral songs or I don't feel comfortable with that.
I don't think it's needed anyway. I think people who follow you for your style will appreciate the content that you do. I think the viral stuff is cool. Like, it makes you feel like you've accomplished something, but it's not necessarily like those followers or likes, they're not necessarily gonna stay just based off of one viral video. So
yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like social media is important for you to get clients?
Definitely. Most of my clients come through Instagram or other platforms, so it's very important to at least keep my portfolio updated on social media. As I mentioned, I'm not that kind of person who shows themselves on camera, but at least I try to keep my portfolio updated, because it was very important so far. Instagram was like very important for me. I also reach clients myself. I send emails and I introduce myself. But I know that Instagram or also my website, but social media is like every people from the creative industry is there. We have to stay there too.
We left Instagram, but we didn't have clients come to us through Instagram, so it wasn't really relevant for us. The thing we notice is that our community is there, so people who are interested in what we do, who are our peers, are the kind of people that contacted us through Instagram. But I think it's different when you're doing something, I want to say more creative. I think illustration is almost more like art. And I think for that, it does make sense that people would find you on Instagram.
And maybe the things that I do or the things that illustrators do is more easy to show on Instagram rather than other projects like websites, or we can post the final piece and then some screenshots, and it's enough to people to understand what we are doing, because it's very specific.
Yeah. So how did The Guardian end up contacting you? Did they find you through Instagram, or that was the most recent project you did, right?
Yeah, that was my latest project. I'm so happy about that, because I really wanted to start working on editorial projects. And I sent a lot of emails to art directors, and Rita, which was the person who contacted me because she replied to an email I sent her.
Wow. Okay. So cold emailing can work.
Take notes, people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as I mentioned, some of my clients come through Instagram, but sometimes I send message, and it's always a mix of putting work out there and staying connected.
Definitely. So do you ever network anywhere else online, like LinkedIn or something?
I use LinkedIn. Yeah, I try to be present on every social media platforms. Like, I have an X account, a LinkedIn account, but I found that the Instagram works better for me. But yeah, I try to keep. Sometimes it's very difficult to upload the same content, and also you have to adapt the format, because Instagram uses this portrait radio, and then for LinkedIn sometimes it's not the same. And well, it's part of our work to prepare our content to different platforms. But yeah, I also work LinkedIn, but to be honest, I'm I don't remember any work that came from there.
Yeah. It was same here. I don't, like everyone's on there just because they kind of have to be on there or they feel like they have to be on there. But I've never heard anyone actually getting a client through LinkedIn.
Not in our bubble.
Not in our bubble, at least.
Yeah, I think maybe LinkedIn works for people who is searching for a formal or, you know, a full-time job or a position in a company. LinkedIn probably works for that kind of work.
Yeah,
or
probably.
jobs.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to get freelance or like jobs as a self-employed person online in general.
Yes, it is.
I don't think there's anywhere that is really the place to go for that.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
It's a mix. It depends where the clients are and how they find you too.
Do you ever get referred like from one client to the next client kind of thing within the network you already have?
Yes, definitely. And that happened. Most of my clients for freelance for textile design work like that. You know, I had a lot of local clients that recommended my work each other, and yeah, I had a local client base that grew because recommendations. I love when that happened too, of course.
Yeah, that's the best feeling. Then you know you did a good job.
When people recognize your work to the point to recommend you to other people, it's very, it feels very good.
Yeah, definitely. Wait, there was one question. Oh yeah, so how long do you think, because we were talking about social media and content creation, how long do you think you spend a week on, like if you had a project going on right now, how much of that time would go into the project and how much would that go into doing like your content creation, your business, writing invoices, doing emailing, getting new leads, like all that stuff?
I think it's like 70-30 maybe. I really try to put all my energy on my creative work. But sometimes you have to do it. Not sometimes, you know, every time you have to do the other part of the work. Yeah, I think like I, of course, prioritize putting my energy and my fresh energy into the creative part of the projects. But, you know, you also have to stay fresh to make the other things well. Sometimes I forget to post, for example, and then I have to organize all the content and the captions, you know. But when I do that, I try to use all of that work for different platforms, you know, preparing the project for Behance, for Instagram, for LinkedIn. It's necessary. We have to do that.
Yeah. And it's 70-30 is pretty much what we always say, isn't it?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. At least when we tell people they're not going to be working 100% on the creativity. I think people underestimate that when they start.
Yeah. It also depends on the projects, of course. And sometimes it took me a lot of time to start the project with the client, define the rules, define the things that they are wanting or expecting, like setting all the structure of the project. That usually takes me a lot, but for me it's very important to start all of my projects with honesty and with clarity about how the project is going to be, and set all that rules to avoid future problems with clients. I put a lot of my time on that, on organizing.
Yeah, project management is a big one.
Yeah, definitely. I found that if I do that at the start of the projects, everything flows better because the clients know what they are going to receive, know when I am going to send them and what I'm expecting from them. Yeah, setting the rules from scratch is very, very important.
Yeah, we do that too as well.
Is this something that you learned over time?
Yes, it is something that I learned. Yeah, as I mentioned, when I started freelancing, that was one of the things that I had to learn in order to keep my work positive, you know, and in order to get the better results.
Yeah, we had similar experiences.
Yeah.
I had to take that I'm not just a creative. I have to do that. That's why I also love to work with teams or studios or art directors, because I also love adapting to their visions or their ways of working. I really enjoy when a brief comes to me and I know exactly what I have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to sing everything. I also enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, we love that.
That
That's the best. You don't have to think so much.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, not gonna
Definitely
lie.
the best. And but I also like to bring my own perspective to that project, if there is room for that. But when working with clients, with directly with clients, it's necessary to handling the full process.
So when you worked with The Guardian, for example, was that a team that gave you a brief and you had a project manager and all that, or did you have to do a lot of that yourself?
No, it was very, very, very simple, and it flows. The process was very smooth because the art director replied to an email I sent her, and she said, "Oh, I really love your style, and I have this specific project that I think your work would fit on it." So she sent me the text for the note and some ideas, and then I worked on that and adding my own ideas. Yeah, it was a very smooth process. But I work only with the art director.
Okay. That's good to hear.
Well, and then all the payment thing. They contact me with the payment department, and yeah, but it was very organized too. It was a very nice experience.
So do you have like a dream client you would want to work with?
Oh yes, I have a lot. I would love to. Yeah, definitely. But I would love to work in a project for Apple, definitely, because
Oh, that's an interesting one.
yeah, because
I could totally see that.
yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm interested in my personal interests are, of course, fashion and lifestyle, and of course technology, because I use their products and I really enjoy using and the experience that those products and their products offer. So yeah, that would be a dream client. But with the Valentino experience, I learned that everything could happen, because I when I was a fashion designer, when I worked as a fashion designer, I never expected reaching them, or working with a brand like Valentino. It was crazy to working with them as an illustrator. That was very, yeah. So everything can happen if you stay focused and real and connected to your desires.
I think that we haven't asked this question yet, but how did you get Valentino as a client?
Wow, that was crazy. That was crazy because they sent me an email, and I remember that I was having lunch and I saw on my phone the email, and I of course thought it was a scam, because if you receive an email like Valentino collaboration, and I haven't had any bigger client at that time, so it was my first experience working with a brand like that. So it was crazy, and I remember that I saw that email and I continue having my lunch, and then I said, okay, I'm going to search this person, and I'm going to check if this is real, and it was. So they contact me to be part of their social media campaign of their new launching. I know they made a lot of things, like installations on cities. They painted popular monuments with the new pink they were using for their collection, and they asked me to create an artwork performing one of my characters wearing one of the things that were part of their new collection. So I choose the thing that my character will going to use and made those pieces. So yeah, that was crazy. And I'm sure that work works as validation for other projects, of course, because after doing that, I made something for Benetton, which is other fashion brand. It looks like things work like that. If you make something for a relevant client, other clients could validate your work.
Yeah, that's basically what happened to us as well. So did they contact you? They contacted you via email. Did you ask them how they found you?
Yeah, the person who contacted me told me that he saw my work on Instagram.
Oh, okay. So Instagram.
Yeah, and it was crazy because he asked me to use one of my characters, and those characters comes from a personal search and a personal project. So that was crazy.
So that also shows the value of doing personal projects.
Definitely.
In that case as well.
Definitely.
That's so cool. I hope that the next client that sees your Instagram is Apple in that case.
Thank you.
And can you just tell our audience is Instagram the best place to follow along with you, like to see if Apple ever does contact you?
Yeah,
or
definitely.
On your 3D journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any other place? Okay,
yeah,
so Instagram.
Instagram is the best place. And also there I have the other links for my website or other platforms, but definitely Instagram is the place to follow my journey.
Yeah, we'll link your Instagram we're gonna link the Instagram to the podcast episode on Spotify, so people can go there and follow along with you and see if maybe Apple does contact you.
I hope
at
so.
Some point. And if anyone has connections to Apple, please share.
Yeah, I'm open to any kind of collaboration with Apple and with other clients. Yeah, no, to be honest, I am always open to any kind of collaborations because I learn a lot with every new project. As I mentioned, I used to be and I'm still a very curious person. So I love to learn new things and I love to expand the things that I do and the things that I like to do. And every new project gives me something new. I really love that from my work.
That's really cool. And we've pretty much covered everything that we wanted to cover with you. And since we do have to be mindful of time because we're already at like 50 minutes, to end like the podcast, that's a question that we just want to ask everyone who comes onto the podcast as a guest. If you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing, like when you started out your career, like what would it be? If you could tell yourself one thing.
Yeah, the best advice I can make to my past is to be patient. Just trust your intuition, trust your desires, and keep making things and keep exploring the things that I like, that you like, and things happen. Sometimes the things that you're expecting takes more time than expected, but at the point those things happen or other things that you weren't expecting happen and are much better than your previous ideas. So definitely that. And to be consistent. I remember that I used to be kind of chaotic. My process was kind of chaotic, and I learned how to organize my projects, how to organize everything that I do. That is very important,
Yeah. Okay. That's really good advice. We think it's helpful because we think it's also helpful for people who want to start doing maybe something that you're doing now and look up to you, to have that advice from you as someone who's successful doing what they're doing. So thank you so much for being here and talking to us.
Thank you, girls.
Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, it was really great having you.
Thank you. This is my first time on a podcast, so
but you talked really well.
Thank you.
Better than me right now.
No, it was really interesting and very insightful, and it's an area that we have no expertise in because we don't do illustration. We don't.
Sure.
I would say our work is less creative in terms of visual creativity.
Yeah,
and
structural creativity.
Ours is more logical creativity. If that makes sense.
I know. But something I forgot to mention is that I, as a creative person, I work with a designer's mindset. I need to find methods for everything I do. So that's that's pretty similar, probably, to the things that you do. Whether it's building a character or organizing a project or exploring something new, I tend to create small systems or frameworks to guide my process. So it helps me to stay focused and turn intuition or creativity into something tangible, which is very important to make things happen. So
yeah, agreed. I mean, we're also, I think everyone who's self-employed as a creative person has to suddenly be project manager and all these other things that are less creative, maybe in terms of like the output, but you still need to be creative in creating those systems and things that work for you. So thank you for listening to this episode of Never Went to Business School. Don't forget to follow us here on Spotify. And if you enjoy our content, check out our YouTube channel for more educational videos and subscribe to our newsletter on Substack.